Hello, glad to see you back. Last time we created this post list view and also the post page, and this time we're gonna add comments. Alright, let's start. The first step is to come here to the schema and define the new table for the comments. This is gonna be pretty similar to the post. The only difference is that a comment references a post. So down here, I'm gonna create a reference to the post ID, and that's it. Now in the queries.sql, let's add the necessary queries. Let's add one to create a comment. Again, this is very similar to the create post query, so we're just gonna add the post ID in here. There we go. Now we need one to list the comments. Again, pretty much the same, but we're gonna filter by post ID, like so. Alright, this is done. Now let's go and create a new file for the comments. There we go. So to create a comment, we need the content and also the post ID. Similar to the post, we're gonna trim the content. So we're gonna copy this from the post and paste it into the comment. There we go. For validation, also we're gonna copy this from the post. We need to validate also the post ID. And there we go. Now let's come here to the method and call our functions. Prepare and validate. Alright, now we need to check that the user is in the context. Like so. And now I think we can create a comment. We need to run SQL-C generate first. So for this, we're gonna need a comment ID, so we can generate that. Alright, so the post ID comes from the input, the user comes from the context, and the content from the input. There we go. Now to reply back, we need to return with the comment ID and the time. And that should be all. Now let's quickly add a new method to list the comments. And there we go. Notice that we are passing the post ID because we want to list the comments from a single post. Now let's write some tests. And because this is pretty similar to the post, I'm gonna copy paste from there. Alright, we need to modify this a little bit. So to create a comment, we need also to pass a post ID. And that is the first validation we do. So let's add a new test case. Alright, this will test the invalid post ID. So now here, when we check for the empty content, we can pass a valid post ID. Also here, and then here. And here in the OK case, we need to create a post. So here we're gonna reuse the same user. So we take the user ID from here. And this post is gonna give us the ID, like so. Let's give this a try. Alright, perfect. Similarly, we are gonna take the test from the post. So in this case, we need to pass the post ID, and we can test for the invalid post ID also. We can also test for a valid post ID, but that doesn't exist, like this one. And this will always return no error and an empty slice, like so. So for this last case, we're gonna need a valid post ID that exists. And there we go. Alright, actually on this case, we need to make sure that there are comments on this post. So I'm gonna create a couple of comments here. So I'm gonna add a new utility function here to create comments. And there we go. So the user ID and post ID both must come from the arguments. So here I'm gonna create 10 comments on this post. And we assert that we get 10 comments back. And there we go, done. So now we can come here to the web package and to the post handler. To the post page template data, we are gonna include the comments, like so. And here on the handler, on show post, we're gonna also fetch the comments. There we go. So on this page, we can pass the post and the comments. So let's go to the post page template. And down here, maybe we can have a section. And we are gonna do a range over all the comments. All right, that's it. In case there are no comments, we're gonna display a message. Otherwise, we're gonna arrange or include a new template called comment. We're gonna define it here in the include directory. And this one is gonna be pretty similar to the post. So let's copy this and paste it here. One difference is that there is no link to the post because this is a comment. And maybe to make them look smaller, we can avoid this H2. Maybe that. All right, let's give it a try. All right, I am now seeing a post and I don't see any comments. Looks correct. We don't have any error. So let's add the form to create a new comment. So right here on the post page, maybe at the bottom, we can show a form. And this form is only gonna be displayed if the user is logged in. So this is gonna make a post request to the /comments. And let's take the same form actually we have on the home page, like this. Let's copy and paste it here. So here we need to change this, could not create comment. And we need to pass the post ID. So we're gonna create an input of type hidden. And inside the value, we're gonna pass the post ID. Remember that we are on the post page, so we have already the post data, so we can access the ID. And here the buttons should say comment. And also these variables, these two, need to be called create comment, like so. Now let's go back to the post handler, and in the post data, we're gonna need those variables. There we go. So let's add a new handler to create the comment. And let's register in the roots. There we go. So a post request to /comments is gonna call our create comment handler. This one. Alright, so the first step is to parse the form. In case of error, we're gonna set the error in the session. And we're gonna redirect back. So here, we're gonna pass the referrer. Then we're gonna call our create comment. And again, in case of error, we're gonna pass the error in the session and also the form. But we're gonna redirect back. And finally, we are gonna redirect back. So here we have the form. Doesn't look like it worked, but I don't see any error on the terminal. All right, I see why. So here in the input, I think we forgot to give this a name. Now it's working. The issue though is that even if the input didn't have a name, we should have gotten an empty post ID. So here in the validation, this error must have come. So maybe this isID function is not working as expectedly. So I'm gonna create a quick test for this to check this out. Alright, I created a test here. So we pass the input empty and we expect this to be not valid. And this is a real XID, so we expect it to be valid. So this is working, so let's explore a little bit more. Oh, I know. So here in the handler, when we show the post page, we are not passing the create comment form error. So down here, we need to do this. All right, now let's come to the template and let's put it back without the name and give it a try. There we go. So the issue was that the error was not being displayed. So let's go back here and put the post ID. All right, now that we have comments, maybe we could show the count of comments down below each post. For that, you could do a count here in the post queries or on this one, but I'm gonna keep the count inside the table itself. And I'm gonna do that because counting in SQL is very expensive. So instead, every time we create a new comment, we're gonna update the post table and increase the comments count. So here in the post, I'm gonna add a new field. There we go. This is an integer that is gonna start at 0, and we're gonna manually increase it. So in the queries, we're gonna add one to update a post, like this, but we are not gonna update the content. We're gonna increase the comments count, and the increase is gonna be an input argument, like this. Let's run SQL C generate. And now here in the comment service, when we create a comment, after we call or create comment query, we're gonna update the post and increase the comments count. So we're gonna increase the comments count by 1. And that's it. Now we're gonna come to the post article template, and maybe down here below the content we can show the comments count. Maybe we can show an icon here alongside the count. Alright, we got an error here, and that's because our migration is trying to run this schema, but there is no update to the schema. And that's because we added the field directly on the table, and we didn't do an alter table. So for now, I'm just gonna delete the database and create it again. So I'm gonna come here and stop cockroach, and delete the cockroach data directory, and start it again. So back here, we're gonna log out and log in again. This is gonna create a new user. So now you can see that a post has a comment count. So if we go to the post and we write something here, you can see that the comment count was increased. And here in the home view too. Alright, this is awesome. I think I'm gonna leave it here for today. For the next episode, we're gonna do the user profile and show the post for a single user. So make sure to leave any question down below, and I'm gonna see you in the next one.